Welcome. So, in the lecture series of robotics, today we will focus on the degree of freedoms which are used in robots. So, as we all know that the degree of freedom is the number of independent position variables which would has to be specified to locate all parts of a mechanism. So what exactly we can find out that either we have to find out the calculate the number of independent position of a body which can be moved in the space, right? So this is very important to understand the flexibility of the robot or any kind of mechanism. So when we talk about the movability or flexibility of the mechanism, we always count the total number of degree of freedoms available in the robot. So in most manipulator, this is usually the number of joints. So every joint should have at least 1 degree of freedom. Otherwise, this joint will not work at any case, or it will not be considered as a joint, right? So if we can calculate the motion of the joint, whether it is a rotary motion or sliding motion, we can find out that the degree of freedom of the mechanism. So in a simplest way, you can say that the degree of freedom of a rigid body in the space, that for example, if we consider a planar motion of the link, so you can find out this link can move in along the x-axis direction, along y-axis direction, or this element can rotate about this clockwise or anti-clockwise in a plane. Whereas in the space, if the body is counted to calculate the degree of freedom, you will find out that this body can move in x direction, in y direction, and in z direction as a translatory motion. Whereas this body can rotate about all these three axes. It means x-axis, clockwise or anti-clockwise, about y-axis, again clockwise or anti-clockwise, and about z-axis in clockwise or anti-clockwise. So if you count the degree of freedom of a body in a space, maximum it should be 6, right? Or if you consider the clockwise or anti-clockwise, it will be or positive or negative. You will find out it's the degree of freedom of a body in both the directions should be 12. So as we know that in the 3D space, the degree of freedom is equal to 6 degree of freedom. 3 basically counted for the position, and 3 which are counted for the proper orientation of the body in the target points. So in the case of robotics, if we say that the degree of freedom are the number of independently driven joints. So independent joints means if the joint is moving without any concern of the previous joint, or it can move in the direction which is required. So as we consider that what is the impact of the degree of freedom of a system, that if the degree of freedom increases, then this will be, you can say that the accuracy of the positioning will decrease here. हाँ बेटा, मैंने मैसेज डाला हुआ था वहां पे विशाल को जमा कर, चल जमा कर दे यहाँ पे। वैसे आप एक काम करो, वहां चले जाओ सेंटर ऑफ एक्सीलेंस में, वहां विशाल जो हमारे पुराने स्टूडेंट थे ना, वो बैठे होंगे। हाँ हाँ हाँ, फर्स्ट फ्लोर मैकेनिकल वर्कशॉप है ना, उसके फर्स्ट फ्लोर में चले जाओ। वहीं सेम लैब जो है ना, फर्स्ट लैब सेंटर जो है वहीं पे होंगे, उनको वहीं जमा कर दो। 2 रिपोर्ट है ना। Okay, if we know that if we increase the degree of freedom of a system, then what will happen? The accuracy will decrease. It means the positioning accuracy means if you increase the degree of freedom, your mobility of the mechanism will also increase. Suppose if you count the degree of freedom of your hand, right? You will find out your shoulder, your elbow, your hand, it means wrist, your fingers, right? So if suppose the degree of freedom further increases, the position accuracy will decrease. Next is the complexity of the system will also increase. It means more system will be complex if you increase the degree of freedom, because the controlling will also increase. It will be more difficult for the controller to control each degree of freedom, because the number of degree of freedom will further increase the complexity to control the things. Then next is the cost of the product. It means the cost of the robot will also increase if you increase the degree of freedom. So we have to decide very precisely that how much degree of freedom should be provided to a robot. Then next is, of course, the flexibility will also increase. Means the flexibility means if suppose like a you can say that a two linkages mechanism, you will find out this two linkages open chain mechanism will have a less flexibility. But if you consider a chain having a number of links, you will find out its flexibility is very large, because you can find out that it can bend at any direction, it can move in any direction in the space, like a snake. So a snake is having a large degree of freedom, because the mobility of this snake, okay, is quite smooth. So you can just count the degree of freedom. You cannot move your hand like this, but your snake can move. So the flexibility will increase when you increase the degree of freedom. Power transmission is more difficult. Of course, the power which is used to transmit the motion will be more complex, or you can say that will be very difficult if you increase the degree of freedom. Now, as I said, if there is a one joint, it means 1 degree of freedom. In the case of two joints, there must be 2 degree of freedom. So similarly, if we talk about a simple robots, there are 3 degree of freedoms in X, Y, and Z axis, right? In the case of modern robot arm, will have maximum say 7 degree of freedom, may be counted say something in the case of rotation also. So XYZ, rolling action is there, pitching action is there, and your is also there. Like your human arm can be used to demonstrate the degree of freedom. You can see, you just observe your human arm. You can rotate your wrist in any direction. Okay, you can bend your knee in any direction like this. You can rotate about your this further arm about your knee or elbow in clockwise or anti-clockwise direction. You can bend it or unbend it. Similarly, in the case of your wrist also, you can bend or unbend and rotate slightly permittable, and your finger will have 32 degree of freedom. Your fingers, okay. So you can just count the number of degree of freedoms available with the human being, right? Then, so therefore, there are so many arrangement like a crust crawler having a 5 degree of freedoms. So degree of freedom will decide the mobility or flexibility of the mechanism. Simultaneously, the controlling part will also difficult. Or you can say it's a costly affair to control each degree of freedom, because if we consider a single joint, it should have at least 1 degree of freedom. So this is the concept of the degree of freedom. Okay, so in this slide, let us take an example of a Fanuc P15 robot. So therefore, we have to just consider that what is the degree of freedom of in this figure, right? So let us understand that this system is having a single of degree of freedom, means it can about rotate. A element will rotate about the element of B. Now, in the second case, this element can move up and down also, and simultaneously it can rotate. So it has a 2 degree of freedom. Now, in this case, you will find out that this body, it means body B, can also having a rotational movement about body E, so that this can also rotate about this axis, and body A can twist about this vertical axis or with respect to the body B. it means there are three rotational movement of the body A and B, Simon. So therefore, it has a 3 degree of freedom. So you can just observe this figure and find out, try to calculate the degree of freedom. So we can find out that this body, if suppose it is fixed here, we will find out this is a single degree of freedom. It means it can rotate about this axis. At this point, you will find out the relative motion between the link this and this link, so that you can find out another degree of freedom. And here you can observe that a single degree of freedom. So therefore, it's a 3 degree of freedom mechanism or robot. Okay, if further in the consideration of the wrist movement, if you increase the flexibility, we can further increase the degree of freedom, but up to this mechanism, it has a only 3 degree of freedom. Next, if we talk about the different types of joints, in the case of robotic joint, there are two type of joints which comes into picture. One is the prismatic joint. It means it has a linear movement between the bodies. It means there is no rotation involved. So this is a linear movement. It means the one body slides over the another body, right? And so therefore you can observe here that if you understand the coordinates of the one body, you can control the coordinates of the one body with respect to the another body in the translatory motion. So in the case of the hydraulic and pneumatic cylinder, we have to control the movement of the piston inside the cylinder because it's a prismatic joint. So we have to control the movement of the two relatively moving bodies, so that this can be considered as a prismatic joint. Right? It has only a sliding action. There is no rotation in the movement. Next is the revolute joint. It's a type of a rotary joint. Rotary joint means we have to consider the rotary joint where we have to control the coordinates between the two moving bodies. So we have to suppose this outer body is rotating about this first body. So you have to calculate the coordinates of second body with respect to the first body, and these coordinates should be controlled with the help of controller. So in the case of electrically driven with the stepper motor or servo motor, we have to control the steps. So steps means with the help of pulses, that how much pulses are required. Accordingly, you have to control the steps. Okay, and these steps are further governed with the angle of turn. Next is, we have to just understand there are different types of coordinate systems. In the previous lectures, we have already discussed that there are some systems which comes into picture, and mainly we have to use in the industrial robot these type of coordinate systems. So there first is the Cartesian coordinate. Cartesian means it is having a 3 translatory movements you can find out. The second is the cylindrical coordinates. Cylindrical coordinates means it can rotate about this axis. The next is the spherical coordinates. It has a spherical movement of both the joints. That's why it is called as the spherical coordinates. And then next is articulated robot. Articulated robot or articulated coordinate system, where all joints having a revolute joints and having a like a type of you can say that this articulated type like a human arm, it can walk. Okay. Next is the SCARA robot. So SCARA robot is having only a single 2 degree of freedom for the revolute joint, and one is the translating motion. So for the picking and placing, this robot is most suitable. So Cartesian joint is having a 3 prismatic joint. It means the 3 cylinder joints. Second is the cylindrical. It means it has a 1 rotational and 2 prismatic joint. You can observe here that this is a 1 rotational and 2 sliding or prismatic joints. Next is the spherical. It means it has a 2 revolute joints and 1 prismatic joint. This is a prismatic joint, so that we can increase or decrease the length of the arm, whereas the shoulder and this main body can rotate only. Next is the articulated or anthropometric joint. This is a 3R robots. It means the all joints is having a revolute It is just like a human arm. Next is the selective compliance assembly robot arm, SCARA. SCARA is widely used in the industry for the motion of where the pick and place is very fast. Therefore, the two parallel robot joints and one additional prismatic joint. You can understand here that these are the two parallel rotational. Okay, means the axis of this body and axis of this joint are parallel to each other and having a rotational movement. It means these two are the revolute joint. And the last is the one prismatic joint, which is having a translatory motion, and this motion will be controlled. Now in this slide we will discuss about the reference frame. So there are basically three reference frames which are important to understand. One is the world reference frame, second is the joint reference frame, and the third is the tool reference frame. Let us try to understand that what is the meaning of a reference frame. Suppose if you are sitting in a room on a chair, so you can find out the position of the chair inside a room with the help of the coordinates, or you have to mark some references at the corner of the room. It means if you consider the corner of the room, one corner of the room, you will find out there may be two walls and one floor. So therefore, if you shift your chair and find out the relative position of the chair with reference to the vertical walls or with reference to the ground, you can also uplift your chair, right? So these systems are very important to understand in the case of robot also, because the similar kind of things will be applicable for the robot when you fix up a robot inside the industry or in a plant or in a room, so that you have to mark the reference frame there. It means robot end effector will not understand where the robot is placed or what is the reference position of the robot. Okay, so because when you go for the programming, you need to first apply the reference frame. So this is the meaning of the reference frame, and these are divided into three main categories. One is the world reference frame, second is joint, and third one is the tool reference frame. So world reference frame is the universal coordinate frame. Means it is used to define an X, Y, Z axis. Now in this case, the joints of the robot move simultaneously so as to create motions along the three major axes. And normally this world reference frame is with the base of the robot. It is always located at the base of the robot, which is fixed. Next is the joint reference frame. Sometimes we have to we do not want to define the reference frame at the base. We want to define the references at the first joint, or maybe say second joint, and calculate the relative position of the other joint with reference to the joint reference frame. So what happening in this case, we can also apply the reference frame in X, Y, and Z direction for any joint. So this is used to specify movement of each individual joint of the robot. So in this case, each joint may be assessed individually, and thus only one joint move at a time. So it means, suppose sometimes what happening, we have to calculate the relative position of any particular joint with respect to its previous joint, right? So this can be easily analyzed. Last is the tool reference frame. Tool reference frame means which is specified the movement of the robot hand relative to the frame attached to the hand. The X dash, Y dash, and Z dash axis attached to the hand of define the motions of the hand relative to its local frame or reference frame, or this world reference frame. So all joints of the robot move simultaneously to create coordinated motions about the tool frame. So what is happening here? We will discuss in the next some more sessions. There are basically two types of analysis for the robot. One is the forward analysis, forward kinematics. Second is inverse kinematics, right? So in the case of inverse kinematics, we have to define the tool reference frame where you can calculate the position of X dash, Y dash, and Z dash with reference to the world reference frame. It means X, Y, and Z. So it means how your wrist is moving with respect to its base or the world coordinates. So between these two reference frame, you have to find out the position of the end effector with respect to the world reference frame. Now this is called as basically the inverse dynamics. So these are basically the reference frame which is normally used while doing the programming or the analysis of the robot, kinematic analysis of the robot. Now here you can better understand that robot reference frame, as you know that in the case of world reference frame, we have to define here, this is at the base, it means X, Y and Z, right? So we have to define here these three axes or the reference frame to find out, to identify the position of the joints, or mainly for the end effector, you can find out the position of this end effector with respect to the world reference frame. It means if you define the another frame of the wrist, it means X and Y and Z, how this axis is moving relatively to this axis. So it depends upon the number of degree of freedom, it depends upon the number of joints, it depends upon the number of links which are used in the open chain, right, or in the robot. So this we will discuss later on in detail, how we can calculate the relative position of the wrist frame with respect to the world reference frame. Next is the joint reference frame. Joint reference frame means, suppose if we consider here any joint and apply the reference frame, it means along the X and Y and Z direction, right? We can calculate the position of the another joint with respect to its previous joint or the joint where you apply the reference frame. Next is, you can say the tool reference frame. So tool reference frame, as I told you, that it is X dash, Y dash and Z dash. It means you have to calculate the position of XZ with respect to X, YZ with respect to Y and Z dash with respect to Z. So you can find out here that after articulating this robot, you will find out these axes will not mapped with the X, because you can observe here this X is in this direction, here this X is in this direction, in this case Y is in this direction, in this case the Y dash is in this direction. So you can compare and you can find out the rotational and translatory movement of the wrist with respect to this frame. So this is basically important to denote the tool reference frame. So thank you very much.